I'm Audrey Vance, a 31-year-old UI, UX designer. My brother Leo's text hit my phone at 9:42 a.m. Sis, you're not elite enough for the Vance NY party. Stay home. My fingers didn't even shake. I just typed back, perfect. My party's somewhere else. 3 weeks later, I wired $80,000 through my new LLC Greywave and took ownership of a 48-foot yacht. I slapped Audj on the stern, the nickname they'd used to mock me my whole life. On December 20th, I dropped a TikTok from the flybridge. One take, no filters. Caption, my own end-of-year spot. It blew past 5 million views before sunrise. Leo saw it, Dad saw it. On December 30th, they stormed Edgartown Harbor Marina. They even brought a guy in a black hoodie, carrying a tool bag, ready to bypass the biometric locks. I stood on the dock and blocked the gangway. The lock clicked, the cabin door cracked open, and the face staring back made their jaws drop. Smash subscribe and ring the bell, because what happened inside that cabin flipped the entire Vance family upside down. Drop a comment. Would you have opened the door? My name is Audrey Vance, and I'm a UI UX designer. I live in a one-bedroom in Boston's North End, crammed between a bakery that starts at 4 a.m. and a bar that closes at 2. My life is small, focused. I turn caffeine into deadlines. I design apps that make complex things feel simple. It's the opposite of the house I grew up in. Growing up in the Vance house meant one rule, unspoken but absolute. Leo came first. My little brother, Leo, was the golden child. He was the high school quarterback who threw for 3,000 yards his senior year. My father, Mark, coached the Boosters Club and turned every family dinner into a gushing recap of Leo's stats. My mom kept a scrapbook of his press clippings that was, no joke, thicker than my college transcripts. And I was the afterthought. I remember when I was 10, the family New Year's Eve party was the biggest event on the social calendar. I asked my dad, very politely, if I could please invite my 2 best friends. He laughed, actually laughed. This isn't a sleepover, Audrey. It's for donors. I spent that night in my room. I sat on my bed, listening to the sound of champagne corks popping downstairs, and just counted fireworks through the window. 1, 2, 3. Wondering when my life would start. The pattern locked in early. When I was 12, Leo got a brand new dirt bike for Christmas. A real one, loud and gleaming red. I got socks. When I looked at my mom, confused, she just patted my arm. Athletes need gear, she said, as if that explained everything. So what did I do? I learned to be useful. I became the family documentarian. I learned to film Leo's practices on my tiny flip phone, holding it steady in the rain. I'd spend hours editing the clips, adding dissolves and slow motion, making him look like a hero so recruiters would notice. Nobody ever asked what I wanted to study. Why would they? By the time I was 15, the roles were set in stone. One night, Leo missed curfew by 3 hours after a big game. He stumbled in, smelling like cheap beer, and my dad just high-fived him. A week later, I missed dinner because I was finishing a huge digital art project for school. My mom grounded me for 2 weeks. My priorities, she said, were all mixed up. Was I crazy? Or was the whole system? The only person who seemed to see me was Aunt Iris, my dad's younger sister, the family rebel. She'd divorced young, built a small real estate firm in Providence, and refused to bow to my father's rules. She'd call me every Sunday. Audj, Audj, she'd say, using the nickname Leo had invented to tease me. Don't let them grind you down. Your turn's coming. Keep grinding. I hated the name back then, but her calls, they were oxygen. Then, senior year, the universe made a choice. It was the state semis. I was there, filming, of course. Leo scrambled right, planted his foot, and I heard the pop from the bleachers. He went down. He didn't get up. The scholarship offers vanished before his MRI results even came back. The scouts just stopped calling. And the house fell silent. My father, who had never not talked about football, just sank into this thick, heavy silence. He'd sit in his armchair, staring at the blank TV, for hours. My mother's coping mechanism was different. She just started drinking. A glass of wine at 4 p.m., then 3 p.m., then one just to take the edge off at lunch. The golden child was broken, and the system that ran on his glory had just seized. In the middle of this family fog, I got an email, a partial scholarship to Emerson for digital media. I had applied in secret. I'd used my portfolio of Leo's highlight reels, plus the art projects I'd done in my room at 2 a.m. I had gotten in. I was leaving. I told them at dinner. My dad just nodded, didn't look up from his plate. My mom sniffled and said, "Boston is so expensive, Audrey." Not congratulations. Not we're proud of you. Graduation day. I saved them 2 seats. I kept looking over, past the sea of smiling, waving parents, at those 2 empty chairs. They just forgot. They forgot to attend my graduation. I moved out at 22 with 2 duffel bags, my laptop, and $400 I'd saved from freelance graphic design. My first apartment in Boston was a shoebox. The rent ate half my internship pay before I even bought groceries. But it was mine. The lock on the door? Mine. The silence? Mine. I grinded. I worked my internship from 9 to 5, then came home and built my own brand from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. I posted my first sponsored reel for a local coffee shop. They paid me $50 and all the cold brew I could drink. I hit post, went to sleep, and woke up to 10,000 views. It wasn't just a video, it was proof. Brands started to trickle in. A skincare line, a tech startup. My rates went from $50 to $500, then from $500 to $5,000. By the time I was 25, I looked at my spreadsheet, looked at my tiny paycheck from the day job, and I quit. I was officially Audrey Vance, full-time designer and brand builder. And what was Leo doing? While I was negotiating contracts, Leo, now 21, was bouncing between community college classes he kept failing and odd jobs he'd quit after a week. He was still living at home, in his childhood bedroom. My dad, who had told me Boston was too expensive, was paying the note on Leo's brand new pickup truck. My mom was still cooking his favorite meals every single night. His knee had healed, but he never had. He was stuck in the glory of high school, and they were all stuck there with him. Then, last fall, Leo found his new calling. His girlfriend, Lane, announced she was pregnant. And just like that, the family machine roared back to life. It wasn't about football anymore. It was about the next Vance. My dad threw a massive gender reveal party. Not at the house, at the country club, blue smoke, champagne fountains, the whole ridiculous thing. I got the invite 3 days after the party had already happened. It was tucked behind a coupon mailer for a car wash. I texted congrats. I got no reply. Against my better judgment, I drove down for Thanksgiving. I told myself it was for Aunt Iris, but she was in Providence. Really, I was just checking, seeing if I was still invisible. I was. The entire dinner was about the nursery and the Vance legacy. I just ate my turkey and stayed quiet. After dinner, I was heading to my car when Leo cornered me in the garage. The space was cold, musty, smelled like old gasoline and my dad's lawn fertilizer. Leo leaned against his giant truck, arms crossed, trying to look casual. He smirked. "You think your little videos, your designs, make you somebody?" I just looked at him, waiting. "Dad says designers peak at 30, he said, tapping his temple. "It's all downhill from there, sis. All that influencer stuff, it's not real." I felt the old heat rise in my chest, the familiar sting. But something was different now. I wasn't 15. I wasn't trapped. I just shrugged. "At least I peak on my own dime." His smirk vanished. I didn't wait for a reply. I got in my car and drove back to Boston, back to my 1-bedroom apartment. My phone rang the second I walked in the door. It was Aunt Iris. "Heard the garage chat," she said. No preamble. "How?" "Mom line. Your mother called my mother, who called me. Apparently, you disrespected Leo," she sighed. "He's scared, Audj. His knee never healed right, and now he's got a kid on the way and no skills. Don't let them drag you back into their mess." "I'm trying," I said, sinking onto my sofa. "Trying isn't good enough. You need a wall. Remember your friend Julian from Emerson, the one from the media lab?" I did. Julian. Quiet, brilliant, always had snacks. He'd switched to law after his dad lost a boat in some messy legal fight. He's practicing in Boston now, Iris said. Maritime law, corporate structures, the really boring stuff that keeps people safe. I'm texting you his number. Save it. Family gets messy, Audrey. Get a lawyer. I saved the contact. Julian, lawyer. It felt dramatic. A week later, Iris called again. Okay, I've got the real reason for this call. Your father is planning the biggest New Year's Eve bash yet, the whole Cape Cod crowd, and he mentioned using your fancy design job to comp the champagne. I laughed, a cold, sharp laugh. Comp the champagne? Is he insane? He thinks you owe him for, existing. Not happening, Iris. Good, she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Build your empire, kid. Build it so high they can't touch you. They'll notice when it's too late. I hung up. And I felt electric. Motivated. Build your empire. I went straight to my desk. A winter wellness brand had sent me a proposal. They wanted a holiday push, cozy vibes. I didn't just give them a proposal, I gave them a world. I spent the next 2 weeks in a creative frenzy. I scripted 15-second hooks, shot in my tiny apartment. I faked a fireplace on my TV. I set up ring lights until my place looked like a professional studio. I shot sequences with hot cocoa, weighted blankets, LED face masks. I edited until my eyes burned. The campaign went live. The engagement numbers weren't just good, they were explosive. The client emailed me, midweek. Our projections are shattered. We're up 40%. Friday morning, I was making coffee. My phone buzzed on the counter, a direct deposit alert from the client. I squinted. Read the number. Read it again. It wasn't a mistake. Ba Wen Mei Yuan. A performance bonus. Wired. Cleared. I stared at the bank alert. My coffee went cold. No loans. No investors. No family trust fund. Just my edits, my designs, and my captions. I picked up my phone. I didn't call my mom. I didn't text my dad. I scrolled down to J. I called Julian. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the $80,000 sitting in my bank account. My heart was pounding, but it wasn't just excitement. It was fear. My family, my father. They had a sixth sense for money. Especially money that wasn't theirs. This bonus wasn't just a win. It was a liability. It was a target. I picked up my phone and called Julian. He answered on the second ring. Audrey, everything okay? I need advice, I said, my voice low. I need to shield cash from family claims. I heard him take a sharp breath. Right. Okay. Meet me. 1 hour. The Anchor's Head, East Boston. Bring your laptop. We met at a dark dockside bar. It smelled like stale beer and salt. Julian was already at a back booth, nursing a coffee, paperwork spread across the table. He looked nothing like the long-haired Media Lab kid I remembered. He was sharp, focused, all business. You're not the first person to call me with this problem, he said, sliding a document across the table. And your family won't be the last to try. We're setting up an LLC. Today. An LLC? A limited liability company. Graywave LLC. We'll file it in Delaware, register it to operate in Massachusetts. You will be the sole owner. This $80, zero I end goes into a new corporate bank account under its name. Your name is on nothing. He pointed to a line. This is the corporate veil. Your father, your brother. They can't sue you for this money. They'd have to sue Graywave. And to do that, they'd have to prove they have a business claim, which they don't. Creditors and family hate piercing that veil. I didn't hesitate. I signed digitally, right there on his tablet. The filing fees were $400. $400, that's all it cost to build a legal fortress. That night, I didn't design. I shopped. I wasn't looking for a fun boat. I was looking for an asset. A piece of property so complicated, so locked down, that my family wouldn't know where to even start. I found it in Edgartown Harbor, a 48-foot, 1,998 Hatteras. It was a foreclosure repo, asking $95,000. Hull was solid, but the interior had been gutted for a refit that never happened. It was perfect. I wired a 10% deposit from the new Graywave account. The broker called back, stunned. A cash deal? Ma'am, we can close in 10 days. Do it, I said. Closing day, Julian came with me. We transferred the balance. The title transferred clean. No liens, no family trust, just Graywave LLC. Back in the marina office, the clerk pushed a form toward me. Stern nameplate, ma'am? I picked up the pen. My hand was steady. I wrote 2 words. Audj. The clerk raised an eyebrow but stamped the form. The nickname didn't sting anymore. It was about to be cast in chrome letters. The refit started immediately. I hired a local yard, paying every invoice from the Graywave account. New teak decks, new galley, but I spent the real money on security. No keys, I told the electrician. I want 0 keys. He installed biometric scanners. 1 on the main companionway door, 1 on the master stateroom. It was thumbprint or facial recognition only. It was all linked to an app on my phone. No keys to copy. No codes to steal. I brought Julian down to see it. He watched me press my thumb to the scanner. The lock clicked, a heavy, satisfying thunk. He grinned. Smart, he said, tapping the stainless steel panel. Very smart. Massachusetts law recognizes electronic access as a valid locking mechanism. This isn't a toy, Audrey. This is a vault. Trespass laws apply on water, same as land. And you've got the best lock in the harbor. The security refit didn't stop at the doors. I added a Starlink dome to the radar arch for high-speed internet. 4 security cameras with night vision and motion sensors, all tied directly into the same biometric panel. If a seagull landed too hard on the deck, my phone would know. Julian insisted on running a mock breach. He came down to the marina, put on a hoodie, and tried to force the salon's sliding glass door. The alarm wasn't just loud, it was violent, a piercing siren that echoed across the water. My phone lit up instantly with a push notification. Breach attempt. Salon. 30 seconds later, as Julian was still fiddling with the lock, my phone rang. It was the marina office. Miss Vance? We have an alarm at your slip. Is everything okay? I walked out onto the deck, smiling. Everything's perfect, thanks. Just running a test. Julian pulled his hood down, grinning. Okay, that's a fortress. The total refit cost $22,000, paid in full by Graywave LLC. The last piece of the puzzle was the name. I stood on the swim platform, the air sharp with the smell of salt and resin, and watched the yard worker bolt the chrome letters onto the transom. A. U. D. J. Julian clapped me on the shoulder, a solid, grounding thud. She's yours, Audrey, free and clear. Registered to the LLC, flagged in Massachusetts. Nobody touches this boat without your print, period. I exhaled. It was the first time in my entire life I felt physically safe. The first weekend in December, I took her out alone. I anchored off Chappaquiddick, the water flat as glass. I set my phone on a tripod, bolted to the rail. The sun was low, streaking the sky orange and purple. I popped a bottle of Prosecco, poured it into a plastic flute, and leaned against the transom. 1 take. 14 seconds. Testing the new office, I said to the lens, smiling. Then I panned across the empty, quiet deck. I edited it that night in the salon. Added a simple text overlay. My own NYE spot. I hit upload just before midnight. When I woke up, my phone had 1,000 notifications. By dawn, the clip had crossed 1 million views. By Monday morning, it hit 5 million. The comments were a blur. Dream life. That's Edgartown. Boss move. And then, at 9:42 a.m., a text from a number I knew by heart. Leo. Cute boat sis. Still not Vance level. NYE is at the club. Don't embarrass us by begging in. Don't embarrass us. I read it twice. My blood didn't boil. My hands didn't shake. I just felt tired. I typed back. Already got plans. Enjoy the club. Sent. Then, I opened his contact. Block this caller. Confirm. I opened my mom's contact. Block this caller. Confirm. I opened my dad's. Block. Confirm. The silence was immediate. But they didn't give up. They just changed tactics. An email landed in my inbox, from an address I didn't recognize. One Leo used for his gym promos. "Boat's cute," it read. "But NYE needs space for 50. Docket at the club. We'll take over." We'll take over. Not can we, but we will. I marked it as spam. An hour later, an email from my mother, from the official family account. "Family tradition, Audrey. Your father booked the band. Bring the yacht. Archive." The next day, the marina manager forwarded me an audio file, a voicemail left on the office line. My father's voice, not asking, but commanding. That booming, booster club voice. "This isn't a request. The Vance name opens doors in this town. Tell Miss Vance to park her vessel at the club slip by Friday. Or we'll handle the logistics." I played the voicemail for Julian over speakerphone in his office. "Or we'll handle logistics." He didn't just smirk. He laughed. "Handle logistics? That's a threat, Audrey. And a beautifully vague one. Let's make it concrete." He spun to his monitor. We drafted a formal no-docking order. Not from Audrey Vance, from Greywave LLC. It was cold, corporate, and cited Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 91, regarding private property and waterway access. Julian emailed it directly to the marina manager and the Edgartown harbor master, CCing me. The order was logged within an hour. The wall was built. 2 days later, a courier delivered an envelope to the marina office, addressed to owner, Slip 42. Inside, a set of forged docking reservation papers. They'd invented something called the Vance Family Trust, and crudely, pathetically, copied my signature from an old Christmas card I'd posted on Instagram years ago. The harbor master rejected it on site. The dates conflicted with my LLC's valid permit. Julian's response was immediate. He sent a formal cease and desist letter directly to my father's office. It demanded a halt to all fraudulent submissions. He copied the local police department's records unit. The paper trail was now public. The next text I got wasn't from a burner. It was from Lane, Leo's pregnant girlfriend, sent from her work phone. "Audrey, please. Leo is so stressed. The baby's due soon. He just wants this one night. Just let them use it. Please." The guilt. The classic, final weapon. I looked at the text. I saw the manipulation. I saw her, trapped. But I also saw my 10-year-old self, counting fireworks from a dark bedroom. I texted back, "Congrats on the baby, Lane." The answer is still no. December 30th, 7 p.m. The temperature had plunged to 28 degrees. The fog off the water was so thick it turned the marina lights into fuzzy halos. I was in the salon, editing, when the motion sensor on camera 2 pinged my phone. I looked up. My father's black Suburban had rolled right onto the dock, headlights cutting through the mist. My father got out. My mother, Leo, Lane, waddling in a huge puffer coat. And a fifth person. A stranger in a dark jacket, carrying a canvas tool bag. It clinked when he set it down. My blood went cold. My father marched to the gangway, waving the forged papers like a trophy. "Audrey, open up. The party starts in an hour." I just watched from the window, my phone in my hand, recording. Leo, impatient, shouldered past him. He pounded on the thick glass of the companionway door. "Override this crap, Audj. It's freezing." He put his thumb on the biometric scanner. The panel flashed bright, angry red. Access denied. The stranger knelt, unzipped his bag, and pulled out a small, handheld device with an antenna. He was trying to jam the signal to bypass the lock. The panel blinked. The lights on my router flickered, but the lock held. The panel just kept flashing. Red, red, red. I saw Lane's face. She was pale, her hand on her stomach. "This is insane, Mark," she said to my father. And I saw it. The 10-year-old in the window, the socks at Christmas, the empty seats at graduation, the $80,000 I had earned. This stops. Now. My thumb, the only one that worked, hit the marina emergency button on my phone's app. The siren wasn't just on the boat, it was on the dock, a piercing whoop 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 that cut through the fog. A patrol truck, lights flashing, crunched onto the dock in less than 90 seconds. Officer Reed stepped out, hand on his belt. "Sir, ma'am, step away from the vessel." My father started in, This is a misunderstanding, officer. This is my daughter's. I have a no-docking order on file from Greywave LLC, sir, Reed said, his voice pure ice. This is private property. That's when Lane cried out, a sharp, terrified sound. Leo, stop! The baby's kicking like crazy. This stress. You have to stop. Leo, furious at being thwarted, whirled on her. Shut up, Lane, just shut up, not now! She froze. The sound of the slap was in his voice. Her face crumpled, then hardened. Into something new. I'm done. She turned, her back straight. She marched down the gangway, heels clicking sharp and loud on the icy wood. She got in the Suburban, started the engine, and slammed the door. Just then, the engine room hatch on the boat's deck behind my family popped open. Milo, the maintenance captain I'd hired, emerged. He was holding his phone up, steady as a rock. Got it all, folks, he called out. Up live streaming steady, documenting for insurance. My father turned purple. You can't! Officer Reed stepped between them. Recordings are legal in a public space, sir. I'm issuing you all a verbal warning for trespass. Leave, now. They retreated, defeated. My father, my mother, and Leo, standing in the parking lot, watching as Lane peeled out, leaving them there in the cold. Milo pocketed his phone, giving me a nod through the glass. Got it all, boss. Faces clear, audio crisp. The harbor fell silent again. Colder. Somehow. Milo locked the companionway thunk and came into the salon, shaking his head. Well, that was something. We sat there, the boat gently rocking, the only sound the distant pop, pop, of early fireworks from the town. At 11:59, we took a bottle of sparkling cider up to the flybridge. At midnight, the sky over Edgartown Harbor exploded. Red, green, gold. The sound washed over us, sharp and bright. Milo poured the cider into 2 plastic cups. He raised his. To owning your space, boss. I clinked my cup against his. To owning your space. I drank. It was cold, sweet, and for the first time in my life, I felt free. At 12:05 a.m., Milo uploaded the video. He didn't editorialize, he just posted. All 90 seconds of it. The arrival. My father waving the fake papers, the man with the signal jammer. The biometric panel flashing RED, RED, RED. Leo's brutal, final words to Lane, her walking away. The caption was neutral. Corporate, private property, biometric access, docking orders enforced, Edgartown, MA, 12/30. By 1 a.m., it had 100,000 views. By 2 a.m., it had crossed 10 million. The comments. The comments were the justice I never knew I needed. He told his pregnant wife to shut up? The Vance Family Trust is sending me. Bro, you forged that at Kinko's. This is the most satisfying access denied in history. Greywave LLC, that's the move. She lawyered up before the crazy. Smart. My brand, which had been about design, suddenly became about boundaries. On January 2nd, my father, predictably, filed a lawsuit in Dukes County. He claimed a family interest in Greywave assets. He argued that my success was a direct result of the Vance family upbringing. Julian countered so fast it made my head spin. He filed a motion to dismiss, attaching the Greywave LLC incorporation documents, the marina logs and the official no-docking order, the biometric data log showing unauthorized access attempts, a link to Milo's 10 million view video. The preliminary hearing was over in 20 minutes. The judge looked at my father, then at the filings, and said, I see no standing. This case is frivolous. Dismissed. And the final, beautiful, legal cherry on top? He ordered my father, Mark Vance, to pay all of my court costs. The fallout was swift. On January 5th, Lane served Leo with divorce papers. She cited irreconcilable differences and public humiliation. Her lawyer, Julian found out, was using the video as evidence of a hostile and unstable family environment. Leo sent me one last pathetic text from a new number. You ruined everything. I didn't reply. I didn't block him. I just deleted the app. A week later, a thick, cream-colored envelope arrived at the marina. My mother's handwriting. I held it in my hands, feeling the weight of it. All the apology, all the blame, all the guilt, packed into one little square. I took out a pen. I wrote "Return to sender" on the front and dropped it in the mailbox. Unopened. The public fallout was worse. My father's real estate firm, which ran on his family man image, was flooded with one-star Google reviews. Sponsors for his Booster Club gala pulled out. The Vance name, his currency, was suddenly toxic. In February, I took Audj out. Solo. I cruised for 3 hours, just me and the open water. I dropped anchor off a deserted stretch of Nantucket. No invites, no tags, no videos. I made a cup of tea and stood on the deck. The only sound was the lap, lap, lap of the water against the hull and the low, steady hum of the bilge pump. It was the sound of self-sufficiency. I inhaled. It didn't smell like old gasoline in a garage. It just smelled like salt. My phone rang. This time, I smiled. It was Aunt Iris. Well, Audj, she said. Her voice was brimming with pride. I always knew you had it in you. Hey, Iris. Just one thing to tell you. I'm proud of you, kid. Blood doesn't buy loyalty. You earned yours. We talked for an hour. About her, about me, about the future. When I hung up, I did a few last things. I blocked the entire Vance family email domain from my server. I shredded the handful of old family photos I'd kept in a box. And I updated my emergency contacts. Julian is number 1 now. Iris is number 2. My father thought the inheritance was the house, the name, the trust fund I was never getting. He was wrong. Self-reliance. That became the real inheritance. No fallback, no safety net. Just the hull beneath my feet, the balance in my LLC, and the decisions I get to control. If you're out there, building your own Audj, if you're learning to set your own boundaries, hit subscribe, and let's build it together.